Good afternoon and welcome to SUTV Live. We're live inside our Brummel Lane studio for another vital championship clash, and today it's Rob Edwards' Luton Town who are here. The Blades ground out a win against Reading on Tuesday, and despite a few blizzards since then, they're going to get a red-hot reception in charge of promotion. In today's show, we'll be reviewing that win on Tuesday, reminding ourselves how we fared in the reverse fixture against Luton, discussing today's opponents who've had a change of manager since then, and providing with previews from Paul Heckingbottom and George Baldock. Kick-off is just under an hour away, and for all the match pass information and broadcasting regulations for today's game, go to the website sufc.co.uk. Well, a very good afternoon to you, and thank you for joining us. And we build up to another crucial game for Sheffield United here at Brummel Lane this afternoon. And with me this afternoon, I'm joined in the studio by former Blades striker Carl Asaba and current Sheffield United defender Ellie Wilson. Carl, hi.
Hey, nice to be back.
Absolutely, good to have you here. And Ellie, before we go anywhere else, just show everybody your wrist. You're sidelined at the moment with a break. How's it going?
Yeah, it's getting there. It's a couple of weeks, but it could be worse. You know, it's not a lower body injury, so I'm sure I'll be all right.
I mean, I've said in that little introduction, it's vital this afternoon, isn't it? You know, I mean, so many of the games are, but with Luton pretty much in the playoff shake-up themselves, this really is a big one.
Yeah, they've been in really good form, and it's another test for our lads. You know, it's just week after week they're having different things thrown at them. This is going to be a completely different test, but you know, congratulations to all the ground staff who've helped clear it and make sure it was on, and just allowing the boys to focus, knowing that the game would be on.
Well, I wasn't actually in Sheffield over the last day or two, but I gather there were absolutely buckets of snow came down, and it must have made preparations difficult for this.
Yeah, I'm sure it would have disrupted things a little bit. You know, there was a lot of snow, particularly at the training ground as well. I was up there myself, and I must admit I questioned whether the game was going to be on, but the pitch looks great, and hopefully that hasn't disrupted preparations too much. They've just been able to focus on the task in hand. And 3 points would be just a fantastic reward, wouldn't it? Because, you know, we'll look in detail a little bit later on at the championship table, but there's that 7-point cushion down to Middlesbrough and the rest. And, you know, I mean, we've already seen a couple of defeats like we had back-to-back a week or two ago. Then things suddenly can look very different.
Yeah, it's very tense. And, you know, when you're up there to be shot down and to be chased, it seems the narrative is very different. Instead of Middlesbrough trying to cut it up, Sheffield United are slipping. It's all doom and gloom instead of just, they're 7 points clear, they're 10 points clear. It just seems there's a tension because we have so much, you know, what the boys have done so far this season, it could all be undone just like that.
I heard Chris Wilder, the new Watford manager, playing a few mind games, saying the race for second place is still on. Well, I think Chris maybe just needs telling that Watford are, 16 points behind us.
It's got to be tongue-in-cheek. He's, you know, they're closer to being out of the playoffs than anywhere near us. So just, you know, it's as though he does need some mind games against Sheffield United just to get him through today.
Do you reckon he'll have a long-term rent on his property down there?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Well, it's an interesting one, and a lot of talking points, I'm sure, not least for Chris Wilder as he takes on his new job down there at Watford. But the most important thing for us this afternoon is Luton Town, and we're now, coming up to 55 minutes, a little bit less than that, from kick-off time, and so time to look at the Sheffield United team, and a couple of changes there, Carl.
Yeah, Anel's come in after his suspension. We know what a massive player he's been for us this season, so it's good to see him in. And Bashir done really well in his place. And of course, McAtee's dropped down to the bench, and Flecky's come in. So the manager's gone with experience, and you know, it's a very, very strong team we're putting out.
What do we make of Tommy Doyle being on the substitutes bench? Because the last time he played in the starting lineup, he played very well, and yet he's not been able to get a starting berth since. Is he nursing an injury?
In terms of an injury, I'm not too sure, but you know, there is a lot of competition in that team, particularly in the midfield area. So you've got Sander Berger, you've got Ollie Norwood, you know, a lot of experience in there. So different personnel, different qualities. I think McAtee is probably more of an attacking option. I know he's on the bench today, but you know, there's room in this team for movement, and I think as long as he's ready and ready to go, then there'll be opportunities for him at some point.
And I suppose half the point of having some sort of a rotation squad is to a rotation of the squad is to enable you to protect people, Carl, who've got little niggles one way or another.
Yeah, well, I've been a massive advocate for Tommy Doyle. I love him. I think he adds balance to the team. We've seen he can play in the Norwood position as well as alongside him. So I was surprised in the past 2 games we didn't see him because he was the best player out of both teams against Spurs. But the manager knows his squad better than any of us. You know, we're speculating. The manager sees him day in, day out. Sure. He may have a niggle. There's something. The manager loves him. So for him to not be in the starting team, there's a reason, because he's a great player and the manager wants him here. So you don't have a special player and keep him on the bench if there isn't a good reason.
And briefly, a little bit of a sigh of relief all round that Iliman Ndiaye, who had a bit of a problem seemingly in that match against Reading, he's okay to be in the starting lineup.
Yeah, that's really good news. Obviously, he's a massive player for Sheffield United, and it was great that he got on the score sheet the other day. I think that's something that's been missing from his game, probably to his own frustration more than anybody else as well. But yeah, the fact that he's fit is a massive bonus, and hopefully it stays that way.
Well, we mentioned the weather this week, and of course the heavy snow here is bound to have disrupted things and not made preparations easy. Sheffield getting the snowfall as bad as pretty much anywhere, seemingly. Well, the players have arrived. Ollie Norwood in the starting lineup, and as he set foot inside Bramall Lane, Matt Young was there to capture him and ask him a few questions.
Ollie, how's preparation this been? Imagine it's been a testing few days.
Disrupted a little bit, yeah, with the weather. Obviously, you can't control things like that. We had the game away Tuesday. We was off Wednesday anyway, and then Thursday, obviously disrupted with the weather, but did the best we could do. And then yesterday, you know, incredible effort by the staff up at the training ground, all the staff out, making sure we had a bit of a surface to train on, and we got a decent session in. So yeah, as I say, credit to the staff for the hard work to make sure we got a session in.
I'd imagine even up until this morning there was still an element of doubt. So how difficult is it been sort of keeping your mind on the game, so to speak?
No, for us as players, we focused that the game was on. We was told yesterday that the staff were coming down to Bramall Lane to help out to clear everything, and it looks like there hasn't been much snow down here. They've done a great job and done everything they can to get the game on. So for us, it was full focus, and that's what we focused on.
And now it is on. Tough game ahead against Luton, another side who are pushing for promotion.
Very tough. The away game early in the season was tough. They've got a certain way of playing, make the game difficult. They make it quite scruffy at times and quite untidy, but they're good in their moments. And we know it's going to be a difficult game this afternoon. We don't underestimate them and pay them all the respect we can do, but we look to impose ourselves and try and take 3 points.
And how are you feeling? Still ever present in the Championship? You seem to be taking each game in your stride, so to speak.
Yeah, a few bad games here and there, a few good ones. It's a long old season, it's a long slog, and just to be fit and available and try and play as much football as we can and be as successful as we can as a team. And it's going to take not just me and the lads who are playing. It's a big effort from staff down to the 18 in the squad every week, and it's a big team effort.
All the best there.
Well, a long season, it is a slog. That's Ollie Norwood speaking a few minutes ago. And let's hope that the whole United team can make the most of that 7-point advantage, because as things stand, obviously, it is United's position, that second place automatic position, it's theirs to lose. Well, on Tuesday, it was good news as United went to Reading, picked up the 3 points, and this was the action from the rather splendidly named Select Car Leasing Stadium.
Sheffield United to kick off. As you can see, red and white striped shirts, Reading in their traditional home strip, blue and white hoop tops. Burney held off the challenge of Holmes well there. And Jai, lovely feet from him. Almost found a way through, might still find a way through, still battling away there. Support from McAtee, claimed by the returning Joe Lumley. Excellent work from Njai. Just ran it though with a touch. Basham for United. Clipped cross, McBurney gets something on it. Sarr with a challenge. Keeper's come a long way here, and he's not got there. Joe Lumley, and no free kick either. Berger on for Bogle. Fired in, just needed a touch. Jai lets it run. Laid off nicely for Lowe. He takes aim. Space for Bogle if he can be found here. Here is Bogle. There is the half-time whistle. Jai still going. Jai gets the shot away, blocked by McIntyre. Bogle, McBurney for United, cuts it back, and there is Iliman Njai to put Sheffield United in front. McBurney combined to Njai once again, and Sheffield United have broken the deadlock in Berkshire. McBurney to Njai. Bogle screaming for it. Jayden Bogle takes a deflection. Decent ball in, and a fine save from West Fodringham as Carroll made a very telling contribution to that cross. It's a decent looking ball too to Max Lowe. Sharp's in the middle. Billy Sharp for United. Fine save by Lumley. In from Norwood. Well, Egan found a bit of space. In from Fremi Aziz. Away by Norwood. There's the full-time whistle.
That McBurney and Njai combination working so well once again. And afterwards, Ollie spoke to us and talked about the importance of the win after the setback against Blackburn.
Definitely, mate. Yeah, no, it was important that we bounced back after the poor result the other day. It's good sometimes to have a Tuesday game after a Saturday game that's not as good. We're straight back out there, and it wasn't our prettiest performance, but I think we felt in control of a lot of the game, and it was just about finding that breakthrough. It felt like one of them games where if we'd have found it maybe in the first half, we could have gone on and get a couple more. But 3 points is 3 points, and we come away from home. They're good at home, so we take the 3 points and get back up the road.
How much did you guys put a store on the game in hand and the need to go 7 points clear of Middlesbrough?
Yeah, it's a big game. We knew it was our game in hand, and we knew we needed to make the most of it. So, we focus on ourselves, not really looking at anyone around us. Everything's in our hands. So, we knew we win this, and we put ourselves in a great position again. So, like I say, it's all in our hands.
Does Iliman Njai owe you a pat on the back for that long busting run to get there to tee him up?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't even see it going. To be fair, I nearly fell in the crowd. So, I'm buzzing for Iliman, man. He's been very good, and he ain't quite probably scored as many recently as what he's wanted. So it was nice to swap the roles around and give him one instead of him giving me one. So I think Illy's excellent. I think he's been excellent for the last few games. Like I say, he's maybe not just fell for him. And I thought it was excellent again today and thoroughly deserved the goal.
Well, it wasn't a pretty game, was it? But it was a handsome 3 points, and manager Paul Heckingbottom was delighted to have picked up the win.
Yeah, big win. Tough place. We know how good Reading's home form's been all season. We sort of prepared for a bit of a backlash. We expected them at the best after the result they had at the weekend, and then when we saw the team with the four centre-backs but three, and then one in midfield, we knew the pattern of the game into it'd be tough to break down, and then it was going to be them on the break. So yeah, really pleased with the first half in terms of the tempo we played at and how we passed the ball. We wanted to create more chances, and we weren't getting in behind them often enough. So we wanted to take more risks, make more runs, and if the ball didn't come, it didn't come. But we always wanted that option. So for us to get the goal in that way was really, really pleasing for those two. And then I thought we managed the game well.
Yeah, particularly it was the hardest breaking behind. He kind of only just got there, McBurney, for the cutback, but it worked. Yeah,
and he'd made one right at the start of the second half. He got him down the left, and we ended up getting a chance from that run. He'd made 3 or 4 then before he set the goal up, and the ball didn't come. He just got to keep going because that's how we score. But we know Iliman and Ollie are really comfortable receiving the ball, whether they're under pressure or not, and they look after it. But that was what we were doing first half, so we're really good. Where's the threat? Where's the threat? Where's the threat? So it was going to have to be really, really pretty for us to score a goal, and sometimes you just have to force that goal, and we did that better second half.
Carla Saba and Ellie Wilson with me here watching those highlights and watching those interviews. And what were your thoughts on that Reading win? I mean, it's one which we'd hoped for, but we certainly hadn't gambled on. And it turned up a very, very important 3 points to restore that gap.
Yeah, definitely. I think the key thing, like you say, is that 3 points. And where Sheffield United are at the minute in the table, it's their position to lose. So to go there and to do a job and bring the 3 points back was really important. And not every game is it going to, be a clean, easy win and plain sailing. And I think United's record away from home so far this season has been really good, and that's another strong point for us. So yeah, to go and pick up 3 points, especially on a game where it's it's a game where we've, game in hand, I can get my words out there, but those have psychological sort of effects on players as well sometimes, so they maybe felt a little bit more pressure to make sure that they go and did that job, and to come away with that result was really good.
And all United fans are going to be delighted, aren't they, to see the continuation of that terrific relationship between Ollie McBurney and Iliman Ndiaye.
Yeah, but firstly, I was sad to see that game go, because I've grown really fond of talking about this game in hand. It's been like a member of the family. I was 7 points kid, but with a game in hand. But with it, I've used that game in hand to so many. So what was lovely is they managed to get the 3 points. We've been banking on them ever since that game in hand's come. So the fact the boys did the hard work, and actually earned the 3 points was wonderful. And to go to the select
car, whatever,
away to Reading, who are really formidable at home. It was sparse. There was no atmosphere. The atmosphere was created by our travelling fans on a terrible evening to get down there. It was a really massive performance. And this part of the season, it's getting the 3 points. It's not about the pretty football. It's not about the 1-2s and the front. It's about grinding out the 3 points. And the team have found another way to do it. As you say, the McJai partnership up top, they're getting fit again. They're playing again week in, week out together. And for me, our play has dropped a little bit because we're not using McBurney the same way. I feel we're going a bit too direct in behind, where before the ball would go into McBurney, then back to midfield and someone would run. And second half, there was more of that. There was more looking for McBurney to be the linchpin, and we got chances off it. I just think he's a huge, huge part of our success, and we've got to keep using him because the way he looks after the ball, he's so unselfish. He scored 11 goals himself, but the contribution to the other goals and the team performance are key.
Is the contrast to last season with Ollie, because he just does look so good every time when he's out there with the team now. Is it sort of core fitness? Is it the fact that he's confident because he knows now that he's well and that his body's not going to let him down, seemingly?
Yeah, I think so. That's important for any player, and you build that confidence in yourself and your body by getting the minutes under your belt, and then by performing, and your fitness then comes with that, the confidence comes with that, and we've seen that he's gone on a long period of not scoring historically, and then once he started scoring, they just kept coming, and he's obviously come back in and out of another injury, but to see him back fit again, he'll take confidence from his form prior to Christmas, and hopefully he can continue in the form that he was at that point.
Changes today. Anel back in the starting lineup. He's been a miss for the couple of games he's had to miss through suspension. Him back in there gives that whole defensive side of the team that little bit more of a look of security.
Yeah, we saw against Spurs. He was wonderful. Looked so solid. I think sometimes when it's a quiet defensive game, we forget about it because we expected him to be overlapping and doing tricks in the box. But his defensive side, he's a wonderful defender. His recovery, the game before, he made a last-ditch tackle, a block against Watford, which enabled us to hold out for the clean sheet.
That was a great piece of work.
And I think a lot of his actual defending gets overshadowed by talk of his attacking play, which is really strange. But it seems to be Sheffield United defenders, first thing they're judged on is their attacking.
Yeah.
You've had Bash, you've had all the players who are so good going forward, but their actual defending, that unit of Egan, Robbo and Anel, and it's going to be really needed today. These two boys up front, the corresponding fixture away, they ask a lot of questions. They're physical, they're mobile, they demand a lot of the ball. They really put you under pressure, and to have Anel back in, he's always up for
a
the
lot's
fight.
made of his speed, isn't it, and his ability to get forward, supporting the strikers, as an attacking midfielder. But it always strikes me watching him play that he reads the game so well.
Yeah, the amount of times you see Anel step in and block something, read it, steal a pass here and there, and that's what you want from defenders. That tends to come with experience, but he just reads it perfectly. And a lot of the guys do it at the back. Bash as well is a similar sort of player.
Yeah.
They're very similar in that sense. But I think, as you just alluded to there, the way that the defenders can attack, if you like, is so beneficial to this team, and the way Sheffield United play on the front foot, forward thinking, and defensively, they're still solid as well. Like you say, you can't forget that. And once you have a back three unit or a back five unit that you know you can just trust defensively, then allowing them to join in the attacks just bridges the gaps between having your defensive unit and your attacking unit, and it's just strength after strength for this team.
Right, I always enjoy this moment, or I enjoy it this season anyway. Let's just take a moment to look at the Championship table. And Sheffield United there, sitting nicely, sitting pretty, second. As I said a little bit earlier on, guys, I mean, it's United's to lose, isn't it? They've got some tricky fixtures coming up, but those 7 points so important.
Yeah, and that table, you know, a couple of weeks ago we were in here and you were talking about we were sort of looking in advance and looking at the table, and I'm saying don't get carried away.
Yeah.
The other week, last week in a press conference, I'm asking Hecky, are you showing the boys the league table? Because everyone was sort of saying, oh, they're rubbish, Middlesbrough are going to take them. No, you're there on merit. You know, you played 35 games, and you're second, 7 points clear. You're really good. They've got to be looking at that and believing themselves, because this part of the season now, it is psychological. You've got other managers saying, oh, you know, second's not. You've got to keep remembering while your body's tired, while you're getting through aches and pains, and you've got everyone. You're really a good player, and I hope that's what's going on at the moment, because our boys. They've done incredible so far this season. I
don't know if we can just put that table up again, because if we can just look at that, you see that Luton there are prominent, currently in 5th place. Great form away from home as well. They're a tough team, and you don't get there by accident.
No, definitely not. It's very close, that sort of section of the table, that top 6, if you like, and Luton are a team that are going to want to cement their spot within that, and without a doubt they're going to come here wanting to get in a result and take that back to Luton, and the pressure is still on. The pressure is on the Sheffield United players to maintain their position, and I don't know whether you think, would you rather be in that, I know a second spot, obviously you'd rather be second, yeah, but if there was sort of a closer gap than 7 points, do you think from a mentality point of view, you're better chasing or better staying up there?
I don't. Chasing, at least you have a target, and but if you're second, you're there on merit, and you know you're good, and you know you just got to carry on doing what you've done before to keep going. But for me, this match today is as hard a test. Luton, teams that we struggle are the ones that are high intensity, physical. That's what we struggle against. So this is going to be a really hard test. I was delighted. The point away at Luton this season, we wouldn't have got that last year. You know, the mentality had changed. We fought. We're really to beat. We're great on the ball. We're technically gifted, and when it's going well, last season we were a match for anyone. But it was the physical side that we could be questioned on. This year it's changed, and you know the Blackpool aways, that sort of match was always tough for us. This is a different makeup of a team. So this for me is a massive game, because again we can show, okay, we're tippy-tappy, pretty, really good technically, but we can match the physical teams.
Let's look at United's recent form. Last 5 fixtures, last 5 results, and a win today. Clearly, after that victory over Reading, you know, after the little hiccup, those 2 defeats, those 2 setbacks, there's going to be a momentum starting to build again, and that feel-good factor around the lane is going to be there.
Yeah, it was important to get that win and to have a positive result, because as you can see from the graphic there's too many losses in there, you know, from what United would have wanted, and it's easy to then start doubting yourself. You know, people start doubting management, start thinking as the team kind of stepped off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's really important to turn that around as quickly as possible, and hopefully they can build off that Reading win today.
The Millwall and Middlesbrough results weren't good, were they? It gave us
the performances haven't been great. They've not been great. It's now, but we're in a part of the season where you've got to win. You know, it's about the points. The performances are second. It's getting the match away at Reading where we weren't great, but we got the points. That's what it is at the moment.
Was I alone having a little sort of solitary hurrah when I saw that Blackburn had been beaten by Stoke? You know, there's not one thing you can rely on Blackburn is to be unpredictable.
Yeah.
I think you've got to take care of your own results, you know, first and foremost. But yeah, like you say, any results that go in your favour is just a bonus at this point, because as Carl said, it's the business end of the season, and the points on the board are what matters for yourself and the teams around you.
Well, of course, you're going to be able to follow it all with us here on SUTV Live, and let's take a look at the matches coming up. We've got Sunderland on Wednesday, kick-off 8 o'clock and we'll be on air for that one from 7. And then the Cup game at the weekend, that's a Sunday one. We don't have a preview programme on SUTV Live, but it's a 12 o'clock kickoff. Remember that, and I'm sure you can find coverage elsewhere of that one. Sheffield United against Blackburn, one of those being covered by ITV. And then we've got Norwich on Saturday, the 1st of April, a 3 o'clock kickoff, and we'll be on air for that one from 2 o'clock. And we should also not forget tomorrow, that's Crystal Palace against Sheffield United women, 2 o'clock kickoff here at Brummel Lane. And let's hope that they can get a few people can get down and give you some support for that one.
Yeah, hopefully a home advantage will play into our hands as well, because the away fixture we felt, unlucky to come away with a loss, and we want to put that right. And I do think that them coming to us, especially it was only 2 weeks ago, so there's an opportunity there to put that right and get some points off them.
Yeah, turn them over, eh?
Yeah, tell them what's
nice.
what.
Be nice to see. Now then, earlier this season, United travelled to Kenilworth Road, and as you've already heard, we left with a share of the points thanks to Ollie McBurney's second half equaliser.
We're underway then. Luton against the Blades as Norwood pings one into the Luton Town half. They'll get another opportunity. Flat delivery, decent header, and a goal. Carlton Morris, the scorer. Flying start for Luton Town. And Carlton Morris heads in his second of the campaign. The Blades are behind. Hit by Norwood. Well, they really connected with that. I could see then shanks the ball into the area. In early from Norwood. Not very well cleared. And then Max Lowe has not back down to the physical challenge, and here he is now. Norrington Davis, chipped cross, just over the head of McBurney. Paul Lott was coming in at the far stick. There's a half-time whistle. Norrington Davis, in goes the cross. That's McBurney getting something on it, and then Berger is in there. Lockyer got it clear. McBurney still hooks it back, and Jay, can he turn? Blocked. Deep one from Norwood. It's off a Luton head, away by Clark, back in by Doyle, flicked on by Egan. McBurney! Equaliser for Sheffield United. And it's Ollie McBurney. His play has deserved that goal. Just look at his face, the delight on Ollie McBurney. It's his first goal in the league since December 2020, and United are back on turn. And again, left for Norwood. Oh, fine strike. Doyle is going to have a go from distance. Doyle. Positive play from Ryan Brewster.
That's turned out, with the benefit of hindsight, to be a very good point indeed that United got there at Luton, and I think it's fair to say Ollie was pretty pleased to have nailed that equaliser, wasn't he?
It was an incredible goal. It was one of those that I screamed at the top of my voice on commentary, unashamedly.
Ever the professional.
Yeah, but he'd been on such a long league goal drought. I think it was 2020 away at Leicester or something, they said. The release of the goal, his emotion and his connection with the fans, great scenes,
yeah.
But it just summed him up. The way to break a goal drought, not a tap in or off your elbow or something. So it was a proper quality strike, because his technical ability is frightening. He's not a scuffer or anything. He hit that ball so true, brilliant. But that match was a massive, I think, mental lift for the team, because, as I said, the season before they got bullied there. And they stood up. They're a great technical team, a great passing team, but there's always been questions about how they can go against a physical team, and they stood up really admirably against Luton.
Impartiality is a little bit of the buzzword of the day, but we don't really need to be impartial here, do we, on SUTV Live? We're unashamedly Blades fans talking about Sheffield United and the reaction of the whole team when they got that goal. I mean, it was brilliant to see, isn't it? You talk about people being up for each other, really caring and fighting together. It was so obvious in that reaction to that Ollie McBurney goal.
Yeah, and that's lovely to see, and you can see the connection that the lads have, with each other, and the support that's there, and also the connection with the fans as well. Like you say, it was just a really great goal, really great time, and for Ollie to get that as well was a great timing for him personally. And when you see the rest of the players getting around him like that, it just shows the value of this unit, if you like. They're so well knit and gelled together, and that's helping them get these results. You know, you're not going to get those results unless you work together and you have each other's backs, and this team certainly have that.
Nathan Jones has gone as the Luton Town manager since then. Rob Edwards come in, and certainly in his initial impact was terrific, and they had a little bit of a lull after that, but seemed to have got it back into gear again now, up to 5th place. What's the impact of the new manager coming in? Why is it that when you do the change, I mean, forever people are saying, oh, it's another managerial change, what have they done that for? But so often the new manager does seem to have an immediate impact. Why, from a player's perspective, why is that?
Well, I think it's the willingness to impress someone, to be one of the manager's players. Because if you're at a club, you want to stay at a club or improve and go up. So this is the one person you have to have on your side, and you have to have him believing in you. So in training, you're going to give 100%. Not that you don't. It's like there's a willingness to say, yeah, I'm one of yours. I want to be, I want to be in the retained list. And people try their socks off. And some players who are in a rut, who it's not gone well with under the previous manager, and they don't feel that they fit in to the style of play, or that manager, it's all opinions, so that manager may think that cup's not big enough. Next manager might think that's a perfect cup, so it gives you a chance to impress, and you do get the uplift. That's why people change.
Chance to draw a line and maybe make a fresh start in your career.
Yeah, on an individual basis and for the team as a whole. Like you said, you give 100% in training, but I think those words kind of get thrown around a little bit as well. And when a new manager comes in, that's when you really see people, there is another level to it. Completely. And it's definitely there, and you see people being more competitive, more feisty, energetic, because they've got a point to prove.
You've got a new manager, haven't you? A new guy come in, and Jonathan Morgan.
Yes.
So have you drawn a line? You're looking to make a big impact as well.
A
bit too energetically.
Yeah. I've got off to the worst possible start, I think, with this. But yeah, look, you get different sort of ideas, tactics that the manager then brings in, and that kind of brings a freshness about it. And where we were at, results-wise, I think it was probably a good time, and you see a little bit of a spike in everything. So hopefully results can turn around. We obviously got a result the other day, which was a massive win for us. So it just supports, the positive side of a new manager coming in.
But we know this ourselves. We had Slav ball where you got great players and it just wasn't working. Heckie's come in and the players transform. They're playing the right style of football, and you get a lift and you get more consistent performances. And I think that's what Luton are getting. They're getting more consistent performances from a very similar group of players, from another really talented English manager.
The Slav problem was surely such an enormous sort of cultural and stylistic change from that which Chris Wilder had employed. And if you're going to do that, you're going to take a lot of time, and really, I don't think the owners or indeed the fans were prepared to accept that.
It was going to be a huge turnover in staff, and for the will of, it was all for the best. It was all good intentions, but the line was drawn, and thankfully we're reaping the benefits now, because we've got all our top players playing somewhat to their level, and we're looking good. So
yeah, and the Heckie change is clearly, from what we've seen, it's been great.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, I think naturally you do get like you said, a spike with everything, in terms of player performances and energy on the pitch. It's just a case of how long that lasts, and that's when you start to see what is the new manager bringing in things that the players are buying into, because it's then no longer about just that initial I need to impress and I need to win my shirt. It then becomes about the team and results long term and the philosophy, and that's when you start to see the long term effects of it.
The style of play as well that the manager has his team playing affects the fans. Playing at Luton, it's a really hostile, tense little environment. So if the fans aren't buying into it, the atmosphere isn't the same. We know it here at Bramall Lane. Under Slav, it was hit and miss, because no one really knew what was going on. Heckie came in, the players are chasing, they're shutting down, they're closing, the fans are standing, singing Heckie, Jack, Stuart McCall, and clapping. It can really unite a whole club, a change of manager. So, they're benefiting from it, we're benefiting from it.
Yeah, we are united, the fans are united, the players are united, and this is the team who are going to be representing United this afternoon against Luton Town. 2 changes there. Carl, in comes... What have we got? We've got Arnell coming back in, and also a starting place for John Fleck.
Yeah, you can't argue with that, can you? Fleck's been there, done it, part of one of our best teams. Arguably, over the past couple of seasons, he's not been at his top form, but this season, when he's played, we've seen he's been, more the Flecky that we know and love. And you need players like this now who've been there and done it. This is a tricky part of the season where nerves go, and that midfield, it's a frightening midfield we're potting out.
And we know the formation. It's going to be the tried and tested, isn't it? I was talking to a few people last night. We were talking football. I was at a boxing event actually, but we were talking football. And to a man, the guys who came from different teams, had supported different teams around the country, they all were big admirers of Sander Berg.
Yeah, I think he's got quality. He's got the strength in that midfield. When you get him on the right-hand side of midfield in the attacking third, I think he's got a lot of quality there as well. And it's just about all the players know the system, they know what's expected of them, and I think that plays to the strengths of this United team, because the expectation is there, and you can kind of trust Sander to go off and do his role. You can trust Illiman to go off and do his role, and that gives players confidence to go and perform as well.
Let's talk Luton for a few minutes now. We need to be considering their attributes and, of course, their recent form. This is how they've been going in the last 5, 8 points from a possible 15, but unbeaten in the last 3.
Yeah, they're a tricky proposition. For me, the strikers are a great pair. They work really hard, they're direct, but under Edwards, the team play a more possession-based. It's not as direct as it used to be, so it means they stay in games longer. They're not expressing all their energy straight off, so they're able to sustain the levels longer because they're keeping the ball and they're applying in a different way. It's going to be a really tough challenge, this one.
The only defeat in that list we saw there in that particular graphic was the loss away against Burnley, and certainly no shame in that, because Burnley seems to be turning over just about everybody at the moment, apart from us, of course. And they've actually lost their 3 away trips to Bramall Lane since 1994. Though they've got this amazing away record. I think their away record is better than anybody outside Burnley and ourselves. But they've not actually had a good record here at the Lane.
Just goes to show it is a tough place to come. It's a tough place to be for any away team, and that's not necessarily going to be on the players' minds, but it just highlights that Luton do have a challenge on their hands today, and I do still expect them to come and put pressure on United. I think for them coming here, they'll probably think we'd take a point away at Sheffield United. I don't know. But yeah, it'll be an interesting game. I'll be interested to see how they come out the blocks and start the game.
Well, let's take a look at the Luton lineup. As I say, they've been impressive away from home this year. They've picked up 9 wins away from Kenilworth Road. Everybody talks about Kenilworth Road being a difficult place to visit, but my goodness, they've played well when they've been on their travels, and that's the Luton lineup. How would you expect them to be, formed? What do you expect their formation to be, Carl? You talked about their impressive people up front.
I'm not sure. I think they won't try and match us. I just know that the way they're going to play is going to be direct. I think the way that we've played our last 4 games, teams have been successful when they get at us. So I feel they're going to give it their all in the first 10 minutes. They're going to be really direct and put us under pressure, because that's when we've looked at our weakest. And we've got to stand up to that, and we've got to not, because the fans will be a little nervy because we've not played well. We can all stand up and say it. The performances haven't been great, and they've been able to get victories and dig it out. So Luton know their best chance of getting something from here is actually coming at us. If you're passive, our players are so technically gifted, and we've got such standout players, they can create a goal out of nothing. You've got to be in our face, and I'm really expecting a tough battle here today.
The striker, Carlton Morris, he got the goal in the reverse fixture, but I mean, he's been on fire this year, hasn't he?
They try and get the ball
14 goals and 5 assists. That's impressive.
Yeah, they try and get the ball in the area really quickly, and the strikers attack. And then we saw on Tuesday night, Reading did the same. Because our wing-backs are pushed so far up advanced, there's little holes, there's little pockets where you can get on the ball, and if they can get on the ball and put in crosses, our centre-backs are going to have a real big physical battle. That's why I'm glad Anel's back, because he's so good in the air.
Elijah, Adebayo as well. I guess in a sense he defends from the front. He's got 7 goals to his name this season, but he's another key man, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. You know, you want that Luton will be wanting their strikers to put in the defensive shift just as much as they're converting goals, and their goal return shows that. But also in terms of them coming out of the blocks and pressing us and starting strong, that starts from the front line and it starts from the strikers. And you know that United need to be aware of that, and I fully expect that Luton will start with energy today, because I think, like Carl mentioned, if you sit back in, especially against this Sheffield United team, you're almost inviting the pressure and you're waiting for something to happen. Whereas when you're certainly chasing the top 6 spot and chasing a result against a team that is successful, you need to go out on the front foot, and like I say, that starts with the strikers.
Who are we going to be looking at in that Luton team and areas in which they play that maybe we're going to be able to exploit? I guess in defence, Tom Lockyer, from their perspective, he's going to be an important linchpin figure. But you know,
that's pretty evil. That who we're going to exploit, who their weakest link is.
Well,
I'd just say.
Come on, you're a Sheffield United man.
I know, but I'm going to say our strengths are not there. Our strengths are our attacking play, our using McBurney as a pivotal role. Get Norwood. They've been able to stop the ball from Norwood to McBurney in the recent games. So Norwood's trying to go direct and he's forcing it, and it's been hard. We've got to try and get the ball to McBurney and work around him, because he's key. That's, for me, how we use McBurney and how we run off him, because you've got Bogle, you've got Lowe pushed up either side. If you can bounce the ball in off him, that's where we've had so much joy. I'm not going to look at any weakness on their team. Just, we've got great players. We've got Sanderberg. You know, I could talk for 2 hours about Sanderberg, because for me, he can be anything. He's a match winner. You know, the last couple of matches I've been saying, why is he not being subbed? He's not being subbed because he's the one player in the division who can completely win a match on his own. And hopefully he'll take this match by the scruff of its neck, because that's what we need. We need our match players, our match winners, to stand up. And there's no bigger player, no technically bigger or physically bigger player in our team than Sanderberg.
Yeah, physically player is he's a big unit, isn't he? He certainly stands out in a crowd. Well, of course, as the weekends come closer, everybody's attention has been focusing on Luton Town. There have been pre-match press conferences. Players have been talking. The manager has been talking. And among the players to face up to the media was George Baldock. And he reflected on what we've been talking about, the need to really grind out key results at this stage of the season.
Oh, 100%. You know, we talk on the bus after every game, of course, and there's been times this season where, you know, Luton away springs to mind, you know, where we didn't play great, and I remember saying to a few of the lads that we'll look back at that point as a fantastic point. And obviously, like the other night, you know, 3 points away from home, fantastic in this division, and that's what we've got to do. And you know, if it's going to take a different type of football, or you know, potentially a game where, you know, confidence isn't as high as it has been, and we managed to get over the line and, you know, play some good stuff as well, like we did the other night, you know, that'll be pleasing.
Luton on the horizon then, and with each passing match day, that result down there seems better and better, doesn't it, given what they are continuing to achieve in the Championship this year? Yeah,
100%. The manager said it after the game down there. He said, you know, we'll look back at that as a fantastic point, and they'll be right up there come the end of the season, because they make it difficult for you, especially at home. You know, tight pitch, and you know, they did make us work for you know, every single tackle, every single race was difficult that night, and like I said, to come away with a draw was a good point.
And they have a tremendous away record. Well, points tally wise, it's as good as Sheffield United's, but they're obviously doing something right on the road. Yeah, no, they're great. Obviously, I'm just talking from past experience as well. Always going there is a difficult game. We know, of course, you know, they're coming here on Saturday. We also know that's going to be a difficult game. You know, they're a very high energy, forward-thinking team. You know, they play the ball forward. They're full of energy in getting the midfield up with the strikers. So it's going to be a difficult afternoon, and you know, we'll make sure there's no stone unturned, and you know, we'll be ready.
That's George Baldock speaking at the pre-Luton Town press conference, facing up to the media, and such an impressive speaker he is as well. He was a guest here in the box a week or two ago, and he did that job rather well. So he's maybe got a future to look forward to there, putting 1 or 2 people under pressure, eh, Carl?
Far better than me at
I'm
everything,
safe
that fella, no. And Jack, you know, what was really lovely was when I was here with Jack O'Connell, he speaks so highly of Borders that he's the ultimate professional.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, you've got a lot of time for him, haven't you?
Oh, I think we were just saying now, I wish you could get both Bogle and him in the team, because what George brings to the team, the tenacity, the desire and the energy you want, and Bogle's just got a little bit of flair more than, you know, I think that's our strongest position. Those 2 players, they could play in any team in this division. And yeah, he could obviously be a wonderful commentator.
I need to remind you about the broadcasting regulations for this afternoon's match. So there they are on that graphic that you can see on your screen right now. Go to the website sufc.co.uk to find out all the pass information, and please be sure to join Carl for his fantastic commentary with Matt Young coming up a little bit later on. Don't miss that. It's one to look forward to, and hopefully 3 very important points for Sheffield United. Now, before we usher you off to your commentary position, let's take a look at the game that's coming up. Predictions?
I think it's going to be very tight. I think we'll win by 1, or it'll be a draw. It's going to be close. Well, I'm going to try and cover everything, because I'm not my normal super optimistic self here. This is going to be a really tough match. But I think the home crowd and the way the boys seem to find a way will get us through this one.
Maybe they'll find a way. I mean, that win against Reading, I know when we were chatting earlier before we came on air, we were saying, you know, 3 important points and not a great game, but picking up the 3 points without necessarily having the greatest of performances. That's what it's all about at this stage.
Yeah, it definitely is. It is about results. It's about goals and just making sure that Sheffield United can maintain their position in the league. And like we say, it's a massive game. I do think it's going to be a close one. I'm inclined to agree with Carl in terms of draw or we'll nick it, but hopefully home advantage will also help, you know, play a factor in getting 3 points.
And your key man, I mean, you've waxed lyrical there about Sander Berg, but again and again you've focused in on Ollie McBurney, who at this stage of the season seems to be playing as well as we could have hoped. You know, when he came on the big transfer, it was a while before he really showed what he'd come for, I suppose. Yeah. But this year, he's really shown us.
He's been really great this season, being a wonderful striker. His attacking play has been brilliant. He's great defending our box. You know, for me, Ollie and Ollie, if Ollie and Ollie turn up for us today, we'll win it, because Norwood, you know, he said it himself, he's not been brilliant the last couple. He's key for us. So, yeah, Ollie and Ollie turn up, 3 points.
The atmosphere starting to build. We're now less than 10 minutes away from kick-off, and the Sheffield United fans here at Bramall Lane, as ever, have a big role to play, don't they?
Yeah, they definitely do. You see the stands filling up behind us, and that's something that, you know, the players will want to help encourage them. You know, you hear the noise from the crowd. That's just, it adds extra sort of, it adds to the environment, doesn't it? You mentioned it yourself, Carl. You love playing with a crowd, and if that's not there, it kind of affects your game. So.
Oh, completely. No, it lifts your performances and it spurs you on. And when you're going through the hard times, you know, the Blades fans are really passionate, and they lift you.
Well, it's a cold old afternoon. Let's hope that the performance lifts them and warms them as well, and that we do pick up those 3 points. We're going to be joining you or hearing from you, Carl, during the commentary, and I'm sure at half-time and at full-time as well. Let's hope very much that we're going to be talking about something very positive coming the end of those 90 minutes. We all hope. But what can we expect? Well, we've heard what Carl thinks, and he's gone for a tight game. He's gone for maybe a draw, maybe a narrow win. I think it's going to be a thumping win for what it's worth, but there we go. That's the sort of cloud cuckoo land that I live in. But we also should hear before kick-off from the press conference with the manager, Paul Heckingbottom, who of course has a slightly more realistic and analytical view of what Luton Town are going to be producing.
Energy team that, as the results show, that they're difficult to play against.
And they will be another team that comes to Bramall Lane looking perhaps to make life difficult first, as it were, rather than say deploy what they're going to do.
Yeah, they do, but I think they do it in their own way. We've had lots of games at Bramall Lane where teams may come and sit 11 behind the ball, but I don't think Luton are that type of team. Like I said, they try and affect the game with your energy. There'll be spells where the game becomes really untidy because of that. So I think that's how they try and stop the opposition, and it can become a bit of a war of attrition, if you like. So I think there'll be lots going off in the game, and like I said, there'll be untidy spells, there'll be frantic spells, because that's how they impose themselves on the game with the real high energy that they've got.
Well, as ever, a realistic and down-to-earth appraisal from the manager. We heard Carl a moment or two ago, Ellie, and he admits that he is extremely nervous about this. He thinks that this is a big one, and he thinks it's going to be really tight. Is this the sort of game which really gets you going as a fan watching?
Yeah, definitely. I do think it's going to be a tight game, and I thought that, coming in here this morning, thinking could it be a draw, a 1-1 maybe? Hopefully, with the fans and home advantage, I'm hoping that we can. I reckon it could be a 2-1, win to the Blades, but I must admit, as the tension's kind of building towards the game, it is a big game. Every game is a big game for Sheffield United at the minute, and yeah, it's nerve-wracking.
And we want to start seeing that momentum building and getting a run going again. There were those 2 defeats against Millwall and against Middlesbrough, which kind of was a hiccup, which was going to come. It was going to come at some point. It had to happen. Yeah. But having got that win against Reading, if you start to get back-to-back wins coming together, then you build on from there.
Yeah, 100%. That result we hope it will be a turning point, because nobody wants to see losses coming in, but equally, football is football. You can't really expect to go on a clean run throughout the entire season. There are going to be ups and downs, and it's just important that boys can stay focused when there are tough games or tough results, and refocus as a group, go and get the points at the next game, and hopefully they've not been thrown off track. The result against Reading is a positive one, and they can use that to their advantage today.
When the tons of snow came down yesterday, I really did wonder whether this fixture was going to be going ahead, but the staff have done wonderfully well clearing all the car parks and the walkways. Everybody's getting in here now. A big crowd is building, and when you look at the pitch, considering that it was under snow, they've worked hard on it, they've got it looking an absolute picture from a player's perspective. There must be a part of you wishes you're going to get out there and play.
Yeah, I must admit, the closer it edges to kick off any game that I'm in the studio, it does make me want to play, and the pitch looks fantastic given that we've had so much snow on it this week. The training ground's also the same, so to keep things moving as swiftly as they can and try not to disrupt the preparations, it's a whole club effort, and it all boils down to this 190 minutes. So everything's set, everything's good to go, and hopefully players are ready to put in a shift, because I think it's going to be a tough one.
Well, it's getting a bit tingly now. It's not too far away from Gallon of Magnet time. They're going to be singing away and encouraging the players. We've got Carl saying a narrow win, maybe a draw, but it's going to be a tight one, and you go along with much the same. Just in the moments remaining before we hand over to the commentators, what's the score?
I'm going to go 2-1 Sheffield United. Ollie McBurney, he's going to get a goal, and Illiman Ajay, never mind.
The old 1-2.
You'd love it. Yeah, they had such a good relationship prior to Christmas. I'd love to see that start building as it did in Reading the other day, so we'll see.
The clock there says it all. We're almost at kick-off time. The players will be coming out in just a few moments' time, so high time that we joined our commentators this afternoon, and that's the voices of the man you've been listening to, Carla Saba, and a very good afternoon to Matt Young.
Good afternoon, John. Well, after a successful snow clearing operation, it's over to Paul Heckingbottom and his players. United look to back up midweek success against Reading. After reopening the gap to 7 to 3rd on Tuesday, United will be keen to keep the door closed on the chasing pack with another win today and standing